Okay, team. Race number 5 on the card. We've got a lovely 3-year-old sprint here. The Inglis Sales Cambridge Breeders Stakes Group 3 over the 1200 metres, Steve. And a relatively warm favourite here.
Yep, Mark Walker trained, Opie Bosson ridden, Cote de Björn open 3.30, now trading $2.50. So that's a nice strong lead in the first, 36 hours of trading around the current favourite who comes out of the semi-final, winning that 2 weeks ago on this course at Te Rapa. Bonnie Lass, Sticky Gate, $5, but well supported. Art de Triomphe, you've got a very compressed middle market here, Thaddeus, headed by Art de Triomphe, 11, and a couple of turns to 9, single figures. We Will Rock, Wairudu Cove, La Bella Beals, $11 each of 3. And then you've got Cool Change, Sassy Merlot, Pisco Sour, if it can come off the bench with a couple of scratchings, $12 each of 3. So there's 6 horses there, 1 point separating them. Best of the rest is Shepherd's Delight. And I should also mention Ragamuffin, who took money early doors last start. Was a little bit soft on race day. 31 into 18. I still feel it trades around about $20 on race day. So Ragamuffin drawn an outside gate, but the money is there to say that it can be an improver, 31 to 18.
Okay. Paul, the favourite. His name is a wine, correct?
Cote de Bone.
You know a little bit about wine.
Not really. You'll probably find a couple of cases in Paul Wilcox's cellar. I think it's a region within the Burgundy wine producing area.
Being by Burgundy. So say it again for us.
Cote de Bone.
Cote de Bone. There we go, BP. Cote de Bone. We're on the horse's mouth.
Yeah, literally there. He's got a little bottle under his desk there probably as well. Yeah, well, look, the way the horse won last time to the races, it's the one to beat and a better draw on the weekend. So there's a lot in his favour. What I will say is this race is certainly stronger, and that was a very good field that he beat a couple of weeks ago, but it's certainly stronger, isn't it, because you've got the inclusion of a horse who has gone to Group 1 level twice and been placed in Bonnie Lass. Now, Bonnie Lass has not fared well in the barrier draw, and that is a massive concern, but if she can overcome the barrier draw, I think on exposed form with what we've seen so far from all of these runners that are in this field, that she is the class element of the race because she has gone to the highest level and she has been able to hold her head up very high in those races, Bonnie Lass. It's just, have we lost the contest because of the barrier draw? And I think we have got the difference in prices because of the draws also, $2.50 versus $5. These two horses could have been a lot closer. Now, if they can find a way to overcome the draw, when you start thinking that $5 is a bet, it is a price, if they can somehow get the right sort of run that they're looking for. I think the other couple of horses that deserve respect in this market are Art de Triomphe, with what the horse has shown in Stakes Company in the South Island, of course placed in races like the Barneswood Farm and the winner of the Canterbury Bell, and even We Will Rock. Now, We Will Rock was a horse who was placed in behind Sword of State and co in the Al Manzoor Trophy when finishing into 3rd position. And we've heard Stephen talk about the type of figures that he's been able to run this season. He is a horse that has got a lot of ability. So, yep, Cote de Bone is a horse who is the logical choice and on barrier draws and what he did last time to the races. But I do think that this race is certainly a lot stronger than what he was competing in 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, interesting thoughts there. Paul, what are your initial feelings here in the breeders?
I really do like Cote de Bone. I really do, and I can understand the money that's come. What did you open up at? What, 3.30? 3.30 into 2.50. Yeah, I do. It was a very nice win a couple of weeks back, holding off a strong challenge from Aria Ree, who incidentally beat Al Vencedor as a 2-year-old, and that was your best bet of the week last week, Al Vencedor, wasn't he? And he's off to Queensland now. So.
It all lines up.
The main dangers, and I agree with BP here, the main dangers are Bonnie Lass and We Will Rock, and they've drawn the car park.
Yep.
And so Opie will be able to tuck in wherever he wants to, and I'm betting on there's going to be want to be near the front as you come around the turn on Saturday, and so that's where Opie will definitely be. Now, if Craig Grills can get Bonnie Lass across without having to spend too much, she'll definitely be in the race. But I'm banking on Opie not even to spend too much, being in the right place at the right time as they come around the turn, and then just having a bit of a break on the two main challenges. So that's why I like Cote de Bona.
Yeah, okay. Look, into 250 is a good push, Steve, but I feel like I'm almost being tempted to bet into that middle market now, the We Will Rock or a Sassy Merlot or an Art de Triomphe, because relatively short 250 to my eye.
It's hard to make a case any horse that came up against Cote de Bourne to turn the tables.
Yeah, right.
Arisha Resh, who isn't there, it's running on Saturday at Wanganui. The only other horse you could probably have a conversation that may turn the tables on the fave is Sassy Merlot, who missed the start and it was game over from the first 100 metres, but still ran home the fastest 800 in the race, Sassy Merlot. So, look, she's got the ace draw. If Taiki can get her out of the machine, and she hasn't shown any tendency to miss the start in the majority of her career. So hopefully it was just a one-off for connections, but she's probably the only horse that I can see turning the tables on the favourite coming out of Te Rapa 2 weeks ago. So BP and Paul mentioned around these horses that have different form lines, have brought themselves into the mix from either having a freshen up or different form lines V races. Bonnie Lass, I do like what the stable have done. It must have been tempting to go to Trentham and run in the Levin Classic over 1600. I think she's best suited at 1200 metres, potentially 7 furlongs as well, but I don't like her over 16. So it would have been tempting knowing the fact that it was a Group 1, but I think they've made the right decision here. Just a knock on the draw. We Will Rock. Now, as BP mentioned, comes out of the Al Mansour, hasn't been seen since Karaka Million Night at the back end of January, running third in behind Sword of State. Out of that race, 6 individuals bounced out of that Al Mansour and won their very next start. Including Sword of State, who won a Group 3. And Imperatriz, she won her next start at Mudda Mudda, but then went on to win 2 Group 1s, and she finished second in the Al Mansour. So it's an outstanding form race. We Will Rock. The only query, and I don't think it's any fault of the stable, he's had the odd unsound issues and the odd setbacks, and they haven't been able to get a decent preparation into him and step him over 7 furlongs and potentially a mile. Again, they have to go first up here after a slight setback from early part of January to target this race. It's drawn a wide gate. 1200, I just feel it just needs a few things to work in its favour. I do like this horse once it gets to 14, 16. Hopefully we see it before it's turned out as a 4-year-old. But again, it'll have to rely on tempo. It has won a recent jump out at Waipark. No vision, obviously, but it has won a jump out. So that's one thing to take note around We Will Rock. But yeah, Te Rapa, we know it can be advantageous to on speed, so tempo is a key around We Will Rock.
Okay, he's going to get into 14. So he's drawn barrier 20, but we've got 6 emergencies there, so that's something, I guess, for We Will Rock. BP, you obviously like the favourite, but talk about some of these horses in that middle market that we haven't mentioned. Maybe your Sassy Merlots, your Shepherd's Delights wasn't a bad resuming run in that race. Stephen mentioned that maybe they're not going to be able to turn the tables on Cote de Bourne, but talk about some of those middle market horses that you don't mind.
Look, I thought she trialled really nicely Shepherd's Delight before her first up run. It was a great chance to get a bit of a line on where she is. And I really like what I saw in that race where she was finishing on through the line. Now, she's a runner that's been Group 1 placed, of course, in the 1,000 guineas over the 1,600 metres, but she looks to be a good sharp improver second up. She's the one, she could be one of those closers. It's a horse, if it's a race where it is on up front, if Sassy Merlot can find the front and there's a little bit happening from horses that are drawn wide that want to get up on speed and there's a lot happening in the race, well then it helps horses like her that are going to be getting back and looking to be running on. You've got also horses of the like of Synchronise again. Synchronise is a horse who's had 4 starts for 2 wins. The way this horse has won her 2 races, she's again a horse who's drawn sticky, but she might be one of those horses that could come with the big booming finish. So you have to play to be backing these middle market horses. You're hoping for a number of things to go your way, where you've got Cote de Bourne and a good draw with Opie on, one last time to the races. You get a bit of a chance to line up some race day form against race day rivals. So that's the advantage you have there, where other horses you're banking on speed, getting a clear run, getting on a 3-wide train, getting going at the right time, hoping the favourite's in trouble. All of those scenarios have to come into factor to be backing these, and hence why they are $10, $12, $15, $20 shots. I think Sassy Merlot is very key to the race because that was something new that we've seen from her. We haven't seen her do anything like that beforehand. I know sort of Pam was sort of shaking her head afterwards as well, because that's never really happened beforehand. So we just have to sort of wipe that. Now that the horse is drawn in barrier number 1, was tipped to be a big part of the speed in that race at Te Rapa a couple of weeks ago, and with what she did, it meant her chips were done at the start. So I think she has to be a bit of a watch in terms of what happens with the speed and where she's drawn. Look, it's a terrific field, it really is. I mean, there is form galore here. There's one other horse I haven't mentioned, and it's Wairoa Cove. This is one of those horses that has produced really strong runs. Look, super run last time at Oroturu in a 65 graded race where it was one up on speed. This horse has come from nowhere to finish into 4th position. He looks to be a really nice type. I think he's a horse to watch out of the race. If it's not his race on the weekend, he's hovering around $9 or $10. He is a runner I want to be watching for the new season ahead. I think he's a talented type. He's drawn well. He's just, if he can get that right run again, he could be a massive player for trifectas and first fours. He sits at around that $11 mark.
How would you attack it, Pops? How would you attack this race?
Look, we've mentioned a lot of horses here. I think we need to, because it's that type of race. I think we should be mentioning these horses because of the form they bring in. I keep coming back to Cote de Beaune because of his things that are in his favour. The horse I'm massively worried about is Bonnie Lass, because I think she is the best horse in the race. She has the best credentials in the race. She's just going to have to she just needs that piece of luck. If the luck's on her side, there's no reason why she can't win the race also.
Yeah, 100%. She can definitely win it. I think Pop sums it up well. Paul, you can take the 250 around the favourite.
Yep.
Nice, safe play. Opie's going to race up near the speed. He's going to do what he does. It's going to be professional, this horse, and it's going to get out and give you a hell of a run for your money. Or, because of all those things he mentioned, you can have a bit of a shot at the stumps at double figures. Which way are you going to attack it?
I'm sticking with Opie Bosson and Tiako.
Yeah, it's the same play.
I'm not going to get Opie or Tiako this
Again,
weekend.
yeah, okay.
I'm sticking with
Again, you will, yeah, but not a Saturday.
Not this Saturday.
Right.
Yeah, Cote de Beaune. Oh, well, and if Sassy Mulo's in there, it's almost like the Battle of the Wines, isn't it?
True, here's your Cornella.
And we haven't mentioned Pisco. Well, we have mentioned Pisco.
Yeah.
So obviously, she needs scratching to get into the field. But what she was, BP's maiden of the week,
Yes.
2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Wow, that was an impressive victory.
Well, let's talk to Steve about Pisco Sour quickly. I know it needs a scratching, Steve, but it's coming out of maiden, so quite hard for us, the general public, to assess. Pisco Sour are coming out of a maiden, coming up against these horses that have won 2, 3 races. How was Pisco Sour's win, and could it measure up in a race like this?
I think she can measure up. Just looking at her maiden stat, I didn't have it with me last week, but 3.5 lengths above par for maiden class. She put a margin on her rivals. Don't think she bet much, but if you just assess her performance, it's right up here. She just needs a little bit of luck, a scratching or two to get into the field, and she presents a chance. She kind of fits where she is in the marketplace, in that middle market, in the mid-teens. I don't think she probably deserves to be in single figures. I don't think she'll get there again from a wide gate, and the horses that sit in front of her currently in the marketplace. Just with Art de Triomphe, the Southerner.
Yeah, see money for it.
Yeah, look, there was always going to be money. There's been money from Day Dot when she made her debut as a juvenile. Look, winning strike rates there, won 3 races from 6 starts, including a Champagne Stakes. My concern is that she's yet to produce any significant figures that measure up to the North Island 3-year-olds. So I priced her well into double figures. I knew we were going to take money for her, and there was going to be an early liability for the TAB Art de Triomphe. She's gone from 11 into 9. Yeah, intriguing to see where her price ends up. She's had a trial into this. She's had a couple of trials. She won her most recent trial. I thought it was okay. She came down the middle part of the track and finished over the top, beating a few horses that are 65 tried gallopers. So can't take too much out of the trial. But just on pure figures, raw figures, she's got to improve significantly. So happy to take a set on the 12. But if I had to stand one out, Sassy Merlot. I'm willing to forgive. I backed her last start 2 weeks ago.
Can't go, Steve. I'm running. I told you last time I was running out of money for the Sassy Merlot. I've got to go again.
I know, but I don't think you should be dropping the ship quite yet with Sassy Merlot. She's drawn barrier 1. Just forget last start, and because of her last start antics out of the machine, you might get an okay price, $12. I could see her drifting a point or two on race day, Sassy Merlot, purely on that alone.
Well, there has been some good early money for her. So, yeah, look, plenty in that double figure market that the boys have mentioned. We Will Rock, Sassy Merlot, Wairoa Cove for BP, but basically settling on Cote de Beaune in the end as Pops. You're the same here, Cote de Bone, aren't you?
Cote de Bone.
Ahead of what?
But you've convinced me to take a fixed Quinny now, Cote de Bone and Sassy Merlot.
She ran home the fastest 800, catching the rest of the field,
Yep.
missing the start by 4 or 5 lengths. So that's a big effort for Sassy Merlot. She had all reason to peak in the last furlong, but
I've just seen the price.
$23 for the fixed Quinella Cote de Bone Sassy Merlot.
Okay.
Battle of the Wines.
Battle of the Wines, that'll do me. Look, at a great race, great betting race, and looking forward to the Breeders, Cambridge Breeders race number 5 on the card.